one of them will work. First off, I think this is a huge group for one interpreter. Keep reading. So you tell your story. When the therapist asks you about the residential experiences of deaf people, and about an article that he read which claimed that there is a high level of sexual abuse of students in residential schools of deaf students. Oh my God. Well, I would first start off with explaining residential schools to a therapist. And, well, now I don't really know or have talked to anyone who has ever been to a residential school, but maybe then I will know people. So I would really have no context to really say yay or nay, because it happens, sexual abuse of students. I mean, residential schools, it can happen anywhere. I mean, what a subject. I guess I would also say that I'm really not inclined to really talk about that because I have zero knowledge of, besides, well, I could define a residential school, but I don't really have any knowledge of anybody or anything that happens there. I've never been to one. I don't know. So I really couldn't back up that claim, and I couldn't really expand on it because I don't know. Why would I say these things? I guess also, like we said, in the back of my mind, I know that the CPC is there, and I'm told to respect my colleagues and my interns and students and everything, but I also want to keep a good name for my clients. My job depends on deaf people, so I would really feel offended just because I feel so passionate about sign language and deaf people that I would be offended hearing these things, and I would have to hold back kind of anger rather than judgment as to why someone would ask me that. I wouldn't know where to go. I would be kind of floored at first just because of anger. And I probably would say something to my agency about that specific person and maybe they have a strong personality and they are quick to judge. The therapist tells you that the reason he asked is that the deaf patient in this session has a history of child sexual abuse, and that is the first in a series of court-ordered therapies. This is the first in a series of court-ordered therapy sessions. The deaf person finally arrives and is someone you recognize from the interpreting you have done in the community. Okay. So now all of these things are popping up in my head because, number one, the therapist is spilling all of this information that I should know, but I would probably be able to figure it out within the sexual abuse, but court-ordered therapy sessions are important, but maybe a little much. And the fact that I recognize the deaf person, but I only recognize them from interpreting I've done. Like we said during class, we don't really know them, we just know them through interpreting. The therapist directs the deaf person to his office and the session begins. At the end of the hour, you accompany the deaf person to the reception's desk to schedule the next appointment. In the middle of trying to find a workable time, the therapist approaches and in front of the deaf person, he asks if he can speak to you in private for a few minutes. The therapist approaches me in front of the deaf person. I would, of course, immediately interpret like the therapist was asking the deaf person, because I don't want to, I'm the invisible, but I'm not invisible. I am the neutral party, if you will. But if the therapist goes ahead and says, they point to me specifically and say that they want to talk to me, I would probably say that was crossing the line. I'm going to go to number 3, conduct. That an interpreter will conduct themselves in a manner appropriate to the specific interpreting situation. Like we had talked about how the deaf people want to contact you and want to be friends with you, but I think maybe sometimes it can be reversed, where the hearing consumer wants you to spill information about the deaf person when you have no means of doing so. I would probably say no, and I would want to say this in front of the deaf person so I could show them that I am here for you two to talk to each other, and I'm not here as part of the therapy. I am part of this trialogue situation that's going on, but outside of that dialogue that's going on between the two of them, I am nothing. So when we are outside of the office and the deaf person is done with their meeting, then I am there to help schedule the appointment. The appointment is scheduled. The appointment is over. Everything is done. We are done. But since we're still in the office, and I want to reinforce that I am the interpreter in front of the deaf person, I would probably, against my best judgment, SimCom for the therapist and for the deaf person to be part of this conversation, because I am again on their side and the hearing client's side. So I want them to be as part of this as I am.